please welcome our moderator, Chelsea Sumner, NVIDIA Healthcare Startups Lead for the Americas. Chelsea?
Thank you. All right. Welcome, everyone. Happy GTC. This is a full room. We're excited. Yeah. Oh, come on. I think you guys can do better than that. Woo! Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we are here. We're going to get started. We're going to have a seat. We're not going to stand in front of you all day, but we're going to have a wonderful panel. We're super excited to talk to you. We're super excited that you're here for GTC, and I've got a great group of people with me on stage today. So we are going to get started. We're going to get started. So welcome. As John mentioned, I'm Dr. Chelsea Sumner, and you are sitting in this session to learn a lot more and to be talking about the revolution that is happening right now in healthcare and AI. I'm honored to moderate this discussion, and I get to be to tell you more about our Inception partners who've joined me on stage today. They're experts in their field, but we have with us, we've got five of us total, but 4 great panelists. I've got Alessandro with me, who is the founder and CEO of Therapyside. It's an AI-driven mental health platform. I've got Coney DeCruz, and I'm getting my words out today. Coney DeCruz with me, who is the CEO and founder of Superluminal Medicines. And I have Davide here, who is the Chief Technology Officer for AITEM, leading the development of LACA, the AI pilot for veterinarians. And I've got Dr. Shai Shin-Or, who is a systems biologist and co-founder and chief scientist at CytoReason. So you're going to hear from them today, and they're going to tell you so many amazing and great things. So I won't belabor the point, but what we're going to do to get started, we've got 3 big themes that we're going to talk about: create, cure, and care. And I'm going to get the juices flowing, so we're going to start off with a quick round robin that each of them will answer before we dive into each of our key themes. So I'm going to start with Alessandro. If you will tell me, if there was one innovative solution that you could implement tomorrow, what would it be and why?
Yeah, thanks, Chelsea. Nice to meet you, all of you. I would create an AI-powered ecosystem where basically therapists would have access to both the therapy session information as well as other real-world data, like it could be those coming from wearables or face recognition or even like mood trackers, daily mood trackers. I believe that something like this would allow therapists to have a much better understanding of the well-being of their patient and offer a much more tailored and better solutions to the patients. And I don't think the barrier today is technological anymore. I think it's much more a psychological barrier, which is, let's say, sometimes the fear is keeping us away from doing that. So yeah, that's.
Thank you. Coney.
Wow. So firstly, thank you for NVIDIA. It's been awesome to be obviously part of this so far. They're an investor, for full disclosure, and we thoroughly enjoy being part of the ecosystem. But just building off what Alessandro says, I think it is fear. Now, from my particular aspect in drug discovery and development, the lack of progress from implementation of AI is really data limitation. We're faced with an extraordinary amount of siloed information that's not shared. So the big innovative idea to actually all of us, and those of us who can make an impact, is why don't we share data associated with pre-competitive aspects or maybe stalled projects? And here I'm talking about particularly things that haven't worked that are associated with what we'd call ADME tox. So these are how a drug enters the body, gets distributed, gets broken down and excreted. We now test these drugs multiply in animal models, which really don't represent all the time how a drug behaves in the body. We've cured lots of rats and mice and even dogs of Alzheimer's and cancer, but haven't made the same impact on humans. So what I'd like to be able to do in this great vision is to share all that preclinical, non-competitive information, and maybe NVIDIA can be the honest broker here. What we need is a particular compound structure tied to the data that we can build models on. And that's all we're asking. We'd be open to share that information because, again, we're here to develop new therapies that can benefit all of us. And we're limited by the access to data.
Ooh, the juices are flowing. The juices are flowing. Davide, question.
Okay. Thank you all of you to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you, Connie, for have taken a bit of my answer, actually. I mean, I want to expand from that.
Please.
Data are important. Also, the platform to make the modeling from, let me say, genome to the entire organism. Having a sort of digital twin for that will be an amazing piece of engineering, because with having that you can enable very precise medicine, because you can maybe, I don't know, you can make a biopsy of a cancer tissue, biopsy of an healthy one, you can run on the chip, let me say, whatever kind of different compound, and you will find a solution that is targeted for that particular case. That will be very amazing. That piece of, if I can snap the finger and find it on my table, maybe that one can be one piece of engineering that I would like to add.
I agree.
Hey, snap. Make it happen.
So, well, I'll connect to the fear point that was raised by Alessandro and Kobani. I personally believe that the technology is no longer the problem. Of course, we haven't solved everything, and we haven't cured cancer. Even in mice, you know, it's questionable. But if you're looking at the rate that technology is moving, as well as just data availability, it's exploding. And pharma companies are starting to upload that data into organized structures, which means that they're one step closer to sharing it and so forth. There's the commercial incentives to do so. So the limiting factor in my feeling around this is actually much more on the human side. So, you know, there's that statement that, you know, the way that fields advance, I think the joke is on physics, is one funeral at a time. Right, and so if I'm looking, what is it that's stopping drug development from changing rapidly? It's really the humans involved in this and understanding their incentives, understanding the economics of this. So if I had to do one innovation, it was actually to get a lot of health economists interested in drug development and organizational behavior people, and plant them within organizations in a way that ultimately the fear is no longer the barrier. Of course, not revolution isn't going to happen in all places simultaneously, but ultimately, if I'm looking right now, there's going to be a first mover advantage for companies who are actually recognizing where AI can start playing a role in drug development, not just in the more commercial lens. And those companies that are managing to overcome their organizational kind of, I guess, incentives and structures I think are going to win out.
All right. I guess we're looking for any health economics in the room and just say, you know.
Come talk to me.
Yeah. Darn, I didn't see any hands raised. So sorry about that, Shai.
That's exactly the problem, right? They're not coming.
We need more. We need more. But now that we've gotten a little bit warmed up and got the juices flowing, I want to kind of kick us off into some specific questions. We just, as a reminder to you guys, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about create, cure, and care. And so the first one being create, our theme around create, and what that means is like, how are you leveraging AI to build your solutions and integrate to make healthier patients? Because at the end of the day, every single one of us is in this room will be and are patients. So we know generative AI is everywhere. We know that what really sets it apart in healthcare is how it's being integrated. So my first question is for Shai and Davide, on what unique capabilities have you seen with your technology, and what does it bring to your field? So I'll start off with Shai, if you will start.
Sure. So I guess the way we've approached this problem is actually from, I think, top down. What's the biggest problem today in drug development? I think the two biggest places is A, we don't understand the biology, and B, we are way more diverse as a population than we would like to think. So we're not mice. And where does this come together? Well, ultimately it comes down in phase 2 trials, because in phase 2, that's testing efficacy and disease biology understanding in the first place where we start seeing population diversity, and drugs fail. That is the biggest place that failure exists, and it's already an expensive failure. So from our perspective, what we set out to do is to try and solve this problem of improving the probability of phase 2 success. Now, solving it one time is not really changing the industry, because the issue is that you're always thinking about phase 2. You think about this when you're thinking about just choosing your first target. You're thinking about once you've had a successful drug, and you're like to think about where you're going to expand to new indications. So you're constantly needing to think about the disease biology and population diversity and in every decision that you make. So you need to build a platform that ultimately gives you scale to make thousands of decisions across all your drug portfolio all the time. And that basically is moving from what I would call an art, data science and computational biology as an art. Oh, give me the data, I'll play a bit, maybe we got a result and push it on, to how do you bring the best insights from data, molecular level data for every one of those decisions so that your phase 2 success becomes better. And AI here plays a huge role, right? Because what you're talking about is the richness of biology, all the multiple layers, multimodal layers that describe ultimately what I think of as a tissue, or as Davide was saying before, a human body. Overlay that with all the drugs that exist, so the drug that I'm thinking about developing, but also all of the competitive landscape, the things that are already out there and the things that are going to be coming out before I finish my trials, right? And estimating this at the level of populations and so forth. So that's kind of the challenge we've been tackling on. And AI in this respect is basically coming in, and NVIDIA in particular, also an investor, for disclaimer, is actually in doing multimodal integration and inference at a scale that allows you to do this very rapidly. So we're not there at real time yet, but you'd like to get to a point where every decision quickly can bring you the latest molecular level information, just like today when you navigate with your phone, you drive, right? The information's there real time, and you're using it to make important decisions. Should be the same for biology.
You want to take a guess at how long?
How long it's going to take us to get there?
Yeah.
I don't really care how long it's going to take us, as long as we continuously improve. And I think the important point here, and I'd love to hear what our panelists, other panelists think about this, is it's almost a fundamental shift between thinking about investing AI in a single drug, right? I'm going to take my entire company and put all my AI to make the drug, as Courtney was saying, between all the different silos, and 5% across all the drugs, AI across all the drugs in my portfolio, 7%, 8%, 10%, doesn't matter, as long as I can do this and continuously show the improvement, right? Ultimately, drug development is still, unfortunately, an extreme failure business. Most times we fail, and it's going to take us a huge amount of time to be able to kind of show that AI is changing the % success rate. And so that's why CytoReason has been elected to build kind of a cutting-edge platform that brings the AI across the board in all the decisions.
Yeah. Awesome. Davide, I know I'm going to ask this question too, but I also want to give the disclaimer for our audience. Everyone I know got a pet during the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely.
Which makes the work that you guys are doing even more important.
I'm the one that is not on the human, but I'm the one that is on veterinary. Let me answer short first, and then I will explain.
Absolutely.
What we bring into the veterinary space with our AI that is built on top of all the stuff from NVIDIA is a solution that allowed the veterinarian to reduce the pressure on them and to rise their efficiency. Let me explain. Maybe nobody knows, or not many doesn't know, that veterinarians are really much challenged by their domain, and they are very under stressed. It's been estimated that veterinarians have 4 times higher probability to commit suicide because of that. This CDC investigation. And what we do is with Leica is to support them in all the stuff that they do during the day. Not just providing them clinical advice so they can basically upload the data and Leica will answer anything about that, but also providing them suggestions, but also just confirm what they already know that can be helpful for them. And also, this is something that we discovered that was not intended, but we discovered when we tried it, is that they don't know much how to communicate with the pet owners. And so what they are really much asking to Leica is, how can I say this to the owners? Maybe it's a bad news, or maybe it's just, okay, how can I educate? And so this is really what Leica bring into a field that is somehow a bit outside of the innovation of AI, but we are bringing it into it because really they need it. I mean, it's really an application of AI that is a winning everybody application.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really that what we are bringing into the table of veterinarians.
Yeah. I would say again, patients. We again can think about every single one of us, but when we think about creating an AI innovation, it extends to our pets that are extended family as well. For the family.
Yeah, definitely. In the end, it's not much different.
Yes, not much different. Absolutely.
From medical and also from emotional point of view.
Absolutely. But I want to keep talking a little bit more again about this idea of create, and I want to ask Coney a question here. Before we move on to our cure theme, I know Superluminal has integrated generative AI with deep biology and chemistry to revolutionize drug discovery, but can you share the tools and platforms that you all have developed in a little bit more detail as well?
Yeah. So revolutionize biology is a bit, we have to do this for hype, right? But let's take, and just building off, when I first heard about this panel, I thought this is going to be really diverse. How are we going to tie it all in? But you've seen already, the themes are very, very common. It's about data, it's about scale, it's about access to these various tools. And NVIDIA is obviously making that very convenient and easy to use for us. But essentially what we've done is we start with biology and chemistry first. You look for the solutions that can enhance drug discovery from that perspective, rather than see that AI can solve all the problems, because obviously you need a key domain of applicability, etc. So we figure out which aspects of drug discovery in particular can be facilitated by the use of machine learning, AI, or computational chemistry or biology, and then we deploy those tools appropriately. We've been fortunate in what we've selected seems to have worked. So we started in 2023 in a live fire situation, and we're in our first nomination of an internal development candidate. So that means going into animal studies as we speak. So we believe that we're moving pretty rapidly. And so what's enabled us to do that is essentially scalability and using machine learning tools across the paradigm of drug discovery. And I'll just point out a few things, and then you can tell me to move on to Alessandro, who's probably got more interesting things to say. Essentially, okay. We look at proteins not as static like you see in pictures in a book, but they're constantly dynamic. They're being influenced by the environment constantly. Water, pressures within the cell, electrostatic forces, etc. But it's really challenging to do that as a full motion. So typically, drug discovery looks at a static picture, then tries to figure out how to interfere with that protein. If it's an enzyme that's causing the disease, maybe to block it in some way. So you have an inhibitor, locks into orthosteric site or the binding site, and it stops the activity. Well, that's not how proteins work. They're constantly moving. So you've got to figure out which conformation that's appropriate. Well, we use tools such as scalability in AI to actually investigate every possible conformation that protein could adopt and interrogate that with every single possible small molecule compound that could possibly exist. Now, you've got all these various conformations. You've got potentially 7.8 trillion compounds that you could make. It's quite a big order. But you use machine learning to be able to, and generative AI, to triage that to a manageable cohort that you can actually screen. So that's what we do. We investigate vast chemical libraries against multiple protein conformations and then identify drugs or potential drugs that we think are going to be suitable. And then linked to that is the ability to think about that compound as having some type of liability. As Shia mentioned, unfortunately, the majority of failures you take through right into the clinic, and it fails at phase 2, which is a very, very expensive prospect. What we try and do is build predictive models right from the start that enable our medicinal chemists and biologists to understand some of those liabilities from the beginning, so that obviously, hopefully, we can reduce some of the bad actors in terms of compounds we take forward. And that's essentially it.
Yeah, awesome. We've heard a variety of different things, but as Coney mentioned, when we think about creating what new medications in pharmacy, we always say the right dose, the right patient, right time. And as you can see, there's a lot of steps before we can get to what our next theme is, cure. We know that there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle, and there's a lot of steps in the process to it. But I really do want to talk about how do we get to what maybe that next step, but how do you tailor individualized treatment approaches and really get to kind of the closer to the cure aspect. So Alessandro, I'm going to go to you for this one. Most people don't really associate mental health as being a huge part of our overall health, about what is a sick person versus a healthy person, but you guys are working on that at Therapyside. Can you share a little bit more about how your technology in particular is providing more adaptable and effective support to better meet the needs?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chelsea. First of all, we in Therapyside, we've built a technology for therapists, so for their day-to-day, right? So interaction with the patients, so they can do basic things like manage the schedule, payments, but also do video session. They have a chat with their patient. They can share clinical questionnaires, etc. Right? So before explaining you what we did and why we did that, I wanted to start with how we see AI being applied to mental health as of now. So we've always seen as something that should be focused to the therapists right now, not directly to the patients. So it's something that empowers therapists in providing a better care indirectly to the patients, right? So all our efforts until now have been focused on the therapist, again, which is our client, and of course the patients are benefiting, and I'll explain you why. I think first of all, the therapists that are using Therapyside, they get a better and faster access to the patient information. And why I'm saying this, that's because we all the sessions that happen via Therapyside, they can be transcribed. So you don't need to note take anymore. So you can fully focus on the session with your patient. And at the end of the session, you already have the full session being stored in the database. We run it through an LLM, and we automatically generate a session recap for the therapist. And so that's also great, right? You imagine like you're having a session with your therapist, and your therapist is having a session with you, and he can just fully focus on that. So once we have this, we have used the RAG, so retrieval augmented generation, and we've created a chatbot which is called Maya, and this chatbot speaks with the therapist, and the therapist can ask any information about the past sessions with the patient, and can also like help you organize the future sessions. For example, can play as like a clinical supervisor for the therapist. It can be also adapted to specific therapeutic school, like it could be CBT or any other school that our therapists are from. And so I think this is what is allowing you to deliver a much better care, much more personalized to your patients. So that's the first part. And then I think the second part is we took Maya and we are evolving it to an AI agent. So what is this doing is taking away all the admin tasks from the therapist, so that they can, again, fully focus on care. They don't need to take care anymore about scheduling session, managing the payments. So via the tool calling of the AI agent, we can get to that. We also want to bring Maya to the edge, hopefully soon. And yeah, like long story short, this is allowing therapists to establish a much better therapeutic alliance with their clients, and get a much more engaged patient and better results.
We don't love AI agents at NVIDIA, but no, just kidding. We love to hear that that's how people are getting that more personalized approach to care, because it is so important. Again, to get to cure, you have to have that personalization, that individualized approach to be able to really feel that people are getting their needs taken care of. We can't just talk about approaches. We also have to talk about breakthroughs. So I want to give an opportunity to Coney and Shai to share a little bit more about recent AI breakthroughs from your perspective. So, Coney, I'll start with you.
It's really the power of scalability. When we first started, this is end of 2022, with our first protein that we wanted to interrogate from start to finish. That means when we tried to model these various conformations to actually getting compounds of interest, it took us about 3 months. And that was just in one process, and we had to go through multiple processes to actually identify interesting compounds. Late last year, we kicked off the latest program, and the same process took us 24 hours.
Wow.
Okay, so think about that.
24
Yeah,
hours.
3 months saving. Now, again, this is just the workflow on the technology side that's modeling the conformations, doing the virtual screening to identify the compounds, and then getting them synthesized. But that's the kind of scale up you can require. We still push the problems downstream, but if you can go through more cycles per unit time, you're going to get better and better molecules out the process. So to share with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, similarly, scale I think is the key word of the day. So with our case, the way I think about the problem we're trying to solve is, is how do you leverage, get more bang for the buck from data. Data has been exploding exponentially in biology and also in other fields. Insight does not grow at the same rate, say it grows linearly, so percent of data utilized every day drops, right? And that actually is a problem for a field that relies on data to generate insight, is that, I'm generating huge amounts of data, but I'm not managing to get the value out. So when CytoReason started back in 2016, the amount of data we had at the time and the amount of data we have right now is orders of magnitude. Just as an example, I don't know if people know, in the past 2 months, the amount of single-cell molecular data in the world tripled.
Wow.
Right? Tripled. So and we have people sitting manually and digesting one data set at a time, trying to make sense of that. Right? So in many respects, data is, of course, of high value in biology, but it's going to a point where it's going to become a commodity. And I actually suspect no one will own the entire data landscape because it's just too rich, too many data types, too many population diversity to be handling, right? So for CytoReason, is building a platform that's supposed to get the bang for the buck from data, get scalability of insight for phase 2 predictions, for phase 2 probability of success, for guiding use cases such as prioritizing targets or prioritizing indications or prioritizing subpopulations. Overcoming the data insight gap is fundamental for our business, right? So this is an example where NVIDIA and AI comes in because we were processing single cell data using kind of standard CPUs and implemented with NVIDIA a whole pipeline that actually does this with GPUs, and we got 30x scalability on this, right? And it allowed us suddenly to bring in way more single-cell data and additional data types that we've been bringing in. And with that more data availability, suddenly things like inference on missing information, because biology data always sucks, right? It's always partial. There's always sparse, so the experiment is just measuring these types of this type of condition, but not really the one next to it that you're interested in. So you need a lot of inference. Right? So using that kind of data ingestion pipeline that are now much faster, we were able to start making inferences on subpopulations and identify subpopulations, data-driven way, subpopulations in chronic diseases that were not identifiable before, validate them, and suddenly target prioritization at the earliest stage of thinking about targets. When you're prioritizing, thinking about drugs, when you're prioritizing targets, we have our pharma customers thinking at that stage already which subpopulation this would work for and which it would not. Now, whether they make it ultimately so that the phase 2 is going to be for the entire for the entire population or only a subpopulation, that remains to be seen. As I said, health economics people are needed in this space, and people, it's still a failure business, right? But having that knowledge where I can think about precision medicine, not necessarily yet as a means where I'm only going to develop the drug for a small population, but actually I've looked at the subpopulations, I've identified them, I've validated them, I've looked at them, and now I'm designing a drug that overcomes the diversity in the population, right, is a place where we're going. And this is basically a breakthrough that we've been able to achieve now with AI.
That's awesome. I don't know about you guys, but that's exciting for me, and exciting to hear about it, these different breakthroughs. Again, the approaches that we think about, again, when we're looking at patients as a totality, and how we are not just going from create, but how do we get to cure. The approaches and the breakthroughs are really important till we get to that last piece of care. You want to have, the whole reason for this is that you don't want to spend all these times in clinical trials, and you don't want to spend all this time trying to get to a drug or a therapy that may not work. Again, the failure rate is already so high. But really, again, behind all of these different things are people. They're patients. They're you and I, your family members. And when we think about that last piece, or this last theme that we're going to talk about today of care, why do we do it? That's why we do it. We do it for us. So super excited to kind of bring us to the last theme. And we've heard about the approaches and the breakthroughs, and of course, what does this really mean to how is it impacting patient lives? And how do we partner to do this to make it a reality? Because I think that's the last piece. It does take collaboration. It's going to take everyone in this room to be able to get to this, to get it all together, right? So to round out this theme, I want to start with Davide. Can you share an example of a successful collaboration for ITEM and other stakeholders and that you leveraged to be able to make this happen and just kind of what led to the creation?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, we have a fundamental problem. None of us, you read my introduction, none of us was a vet, okay? So when we started to develop, we really need to have first-hand experience of what is really, does it really mean to be a vet. And so we started by engaging, during the beta, more than 100 clinic and hospital in Italy, for obvious reason. And we really engaged with them, getting feedbacks, how it's going, not just about the performance, but also about the tone of voice, how they are going to use the stuff. That was the moment where the communication came out as a fact, something that they need for. And this is one very first kind of collaboration that we had. So really with the one that are going to use. Then we need to stay up to date with the veterinary science that is not so static as it seems. It's really a lot of research and development, apart from the one that is used to cure the cancer of the mice, but there is also a lot of advancement in the small animal, okay, the one that are with us. And so with this we enjoy the collaboration with main university, okay, in the Europe. Just to say two of them, one is the University of Surrey in the United Kingdom, with which we are part of VIVE, so we can have first-hand with research, we can have the first-hand with really the new advancement in the science. And we also collaborate with the University of Sassari, that is in Sardinia, in Italy, where we are co-developing a validation protocol that can change the standard in the field of veterinarian for this kind of tools. Then, of course, we have also other stakeholders, because the ecosystem contains a lot of different. The other one is, for example, the software that manages already the data of the patient, that is, let me say, is not so keen to innovation, but is important that we integrate also with them. So we are closing a lot of agreement with them, we are integrating, such that also we reduce the, let me say, mental workload of the vet that doesn't have to switch between different tools, and also we have first access to the data. And last, of course, there is the technology partnership. Of course, I mean, I cannot mention without NVIDIA, but we also have others like Scalaway or other company that help us in developing like.
Yeah, it takes a team.
Yeah,
It takes a team.
it is a collective effort.
It's a collective. It's a collective for sure. Just to round this out, Alessandro, can you share how your AI-driven tools have ultimately led to improving the level of care for patients?
Yeah, sure. I think that was like one of the questions we were asking ourselves when we were setting up this project and developing the tools. And looking back, like what we generated is both like an impact on the quantity of and the quality of therapy that has been delivered via Therapyside. So when I talk about quantity, therapists can save up to 20 minutes per session when using our technology. So this basically allows them to increase their patient portfolio by up to 40%. So this means that you can expand your reach and reach many more clients, right? Especially in a situation like the one that we have in Europe, where like if we look at one of the markets, the biggest market that we have is Spain. And in Spain, we have 5 therapists every 100,000 inhabitants. And whereas the target that is being set at a European level is 15 to 20 therapists. So again, we're running out of therapists. If you use our technology, you can get many more patients, right? So that's why I'm talking about quantity. And then if we look at quality, we always look at when we look at retention metrics as well as release metrics. And focusing on retention, for example, as you're focusing much more on the care of your patients, this has an impact on the second visit return of your patients. For example, there are some therapists that after using our technology have increased that ratio up to 50%. So it means that if before you were seeing 4 patients and at the second visit only 2 of them were showing up, right now you get 1 more. So you decrease much more your acquisition costs with your patients, right? And that's great. And then if we look at the release metrics, which is when the patient ends the therapy, NPS we see that is pretty much skyrocketing after using these AI tools, right? So if before you were like we look at the same therapies before AI and after AI, if you had an NPS of 60 to 70%, right now you can easily achieve 90%. And why? Just because your patient can feel this better attention that you're giving them, and yeah, so that's really going to the bottom line and touching the data, and that's I think amazing what we have achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you guys have been able to appreciate the different and the variety of perspectives that we've talked through today. And I just think that as we continue to solve these problems together, what I heard from today is really, if we want to create, innovation has to be scalable. If we want to cure, we've got to have data, and that data has to get out so that we make it shareable, we make it able to everyone to be able to collaborate, because that is how we show we care. So I want to round this out. We don't have an official Q&A, but I thought it'd be fun to do a quick round robin lightning session, this or that. So I'm going to ask our panelists 5 or so questions. There's no wrong answers. So they're just going to answer. And if it sparks any discussions for you guys afterwards, I hope you'll come up and chat with them and ask them some questions. And before we wrap up, before I ask these last couple questions, I want to say a special thank you to each of you. These are our Inception partners. And so we take our NVIDIA Inception partners very, very seriously. There's a QR code for you to be able to explore, but the opportunity that they have to be here to lead innovation and to be experts in their field really come from our collaboration and our ability to collaborate together through our Inception program. And so just a special thank you for each of you being with me today. Yeah. So I will round us out. You guys, here are our 5 questions. Lightning round really quickly. So AI-generated drug discovery or AI-optimized clinical trials? So we'll start and we'll go this way.
Clinical trial one, yep.
Okay.
Clinical trials.
Clinical trials?
AI-generated drug. Just to change.
Okay.
I'm tempted to say both, but I will do it.
I'll say both. Why one? Why one?
It's one or the other. No,
We are forced to say one. I mean,
Drug
Okay.
discovery.
We've got precision medicine or AI-enhanced drug repurposing. So we'll go this way.
Oh, that's a difficult one. I'll go with repurposing,
Okay.
but at a subpopulation level.
Ooh, okay. The specifics.
precision medicine.
Okay.
Repurposing.
Okay.
Precision as well.
Oh, we're
It's split.
split. It's split. We'll have to talk about this offline, guys. AI-powered mental health support or AI for chronic disease management.
AI powered mental health.
I kind of had
Was
a
an
feeling
easy
you'd
one.
say that.
I'm with Alessandro.
The mental one.
Okay.
We're all in support of us.
We're all in support of Alessandro. Okay. More AI in drug development or more AI in patient therapy matching?
In drug development.
Okay.
That will solve the matching issue.
Matchmaking.
All right.
Matching.
All right.
Management.
Okay. Last question. Human-centric AI or fully automated AI healthcare systems?
Human-centered AI.
Human.
When it comes to decision, human centered.
Vote Team Human.
Team human, team human. All right, well, there you got it, folks. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us in our session today. We hope that you'll connect with us, and we thank you. Enjoy GTC.
Thank you. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Thank you.